So Richie, you're a jiu-jitsu black belt, you're a grappler, but you're also a really high-level kickboxer and a kickboxing coach. So what advice would you give to somebody who's a decent grappler, but wants to get semi-proficient at closing the distance in boxing? I mean, Carlson Gracie back in the day when he was fighting MMA, he went and trained with boxers. It wasn't to become a boxer to knock people out, but it was to get into his clinching takedown range. So what's your advice?
I see. So there's basically two ways. Basically two ways. The very first way is that I set up the entry on my own. Meaning that I throw some punches and then I come in and we can film a different video on that some other time. Another way to do it is that I'm entering off of your strikes. So you're striking against me, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to defend those, and then I'm going to enter in. Now, the key thing is to start things off, I just need to know some strikes. I just need to recognize them. I just need to understand them a little bit.
So it's a little bit like jab, cross, hook, there's a side mount, there's a mount, there's the guard. Just so you're not totally lost.
Right, that's all we need, some basics. We don't need to turn you into Floyd Mayweather Jr. Yeah, we just need to know some basic strikes.
Right. So once you know the basic strikes, now you're talking about entering defensively, entering as a counter to those basic strikes.
Right, absolutely. I just need to be able to go and recognize the types of strikes that you're attacking me with, and that's basically it.
So then how would you go about training, entering against my strikes?
Right. So right away, what we would have you do is that we would have you just nice and easy, just punch me a little bit. Do you see how Stefan is just going to punch me? And the number one way that I want to go and defend is with my head movement. This should just feel like I'm faking in for a shoot. If I'm a grappler, if I'm a wrestler, you see how I'm just dropping my elevation down? Just so that way I get his hands moving, I get his elevation moving, so I can shoot in. Should feel very similar. So the idea is that I don't want to go and try to use my hands, and then if you punch me a little bit, you see I'm using my hands and I'm blocking excessively. Here I have my hands up. It's tough for me to do that takedown. I'm out of position, I'm too tall. What I want to try and do is that I want to be in a good position to shoot in. So when Stefan is starting to punch me, note how I'm moving my head, I'm moving my head, and this allows me to be able to go and then shoot in. Now, do you see how I kind of know the punches just well enough so that way I can speak the language a little bit, right? I'm not getting freaked out too much, and then I'm going to use a good stance. It should almost feel like I'm wrestling, like I'm about to shoot in. And note how I'm just dropping my elevation a little bit. I may have to move my head to the side a little bit, depending on the type of strike, but it's not like I'm doing something that's totally different. And this is the best way to start to transition from being a grappler into a grappler that can do a little bit of striking as well. And
so this would actually be the training drill. Would you get a friend, put on gloves,
absolutely,
and they try and hit you in the head as hard as they can?
Right. Well, okay. So, yes, get a friend. Somebody who genuinely likes you. Give them gloves. You don't need to have gloves. Maybe a mouth guard a little bit. Accidents do occur. And you want to go slowly. You want to go so slow that if Stefan were to hit me, do you see how I'm okay? Do you see how I didn't just collapse on the ground? That's the level of punching. That's the level of feeding that Stefan's going to give me. So that way I can really start to attain some skill. I'm not going to freak out. I'm getting used to seeing punches, and then when I feel comfortable, that's when I'm going to come in. But it shouldn't feel like I'm doing something that's totally different and foreign. If I'm a good wrestler, if I'm a good grappler, it shouldn't feel like, oh man, I can speak Japanese, but now I'm learning to speak Spanish. It shouldn't feel like a totally different language. It should feel similar. It's like I can speak Spanish, but now I'm learning Portuguese. It should be similar. Right? That's the way you want to do this.
And do you do this drill with a lot of footwork, or am I just planted initially? And
a little bit of footwork. And the reason why we want a little bit of footwork is that's how people fight. So it's not like this. Do you see how we're bolted to the ground? So a little bit of footwork, just so it's organic. You see how I'm just kind of moving around a little bit? Just so that way it's how we would normally fight, right? So a little bit. Right? Stefan's not chasing me around the room like we're playing some weird game of tag. Right? It's just a little bit. So that's a drill that you can use to really develop your skills on how to fight a striker when you're purely a grappler.